And we pray Almighty Allah to continue to protect and empower our armed forces to subdue all the crises that are bedeviling our nation.
We will provide resources to address security challenges, Vice President Shettima assures armed forces. Rural economy takes center stage as federal government unveils new initiative on sustainable integration.
House housing and settlement project will stimulate broad-based economic activity.
You're not allowed to embark on strike action. Industrial court orders resident doctors.
I'm directing the Farm Secretary to remove the controller, effective from today.
Federal government reads Riot Act to contractor handling Maraba Kefi Road, sanctions top Ministry of Works officials. Good evening. You're welcome to NTA Network News. I am Lami Ali. Joining me from Lagos is Jennifer Igwe. Benny Adams is here in the studio to keep us up to speed on the world of business. Now, Benny, what's new?
Well, Nigerian equities are still basking in the euphoria of crossing 100 trillion mark. This is as the equities also appreciated today, that is the all-share index, by almost 100 basis points. We'll give you details in the course of the bulletin.
And Ayodeji Makinde is in the sports corner. What's the update from AFCON?
Well, as it is right now, the second quarterfinal is ongoing, and Morocco are currently leading the Lions of Indomitable Lions of Cameroon by a goal to nil already. Senegal are through with a countdown to the Super Eagles playing on Saturday.
All right, remember you can join us online on nta.ng/live and on other social media handles of the NTA displayed on your screen. Now, the federal government will continue to provide the resources needed by the armed forces to address the security challenges in the country. President Tinubu, represented by Vice President Kashim Shettima, gave the assurance as the special Jummah prayer as part of activities marking the 2026 Armed Forces Celebration and Remembrance Day held at the Abuja National Mosque. State House correspondent Abdurrahman Jibrila reports.
Oh Allah, keep Nigeria one. Allah, keep Nigeria one. Allah, we ask you to grant our politicians the wisdom to see things through the proper perspective. May all those who steer the affairs of this country, may Allah Ta'ala grant them the sympathy and empathy to bring about decisions that will be to the benefit of the Nigerian people. May Allah be with us together.
The 2026 Celebration and Remembrance Day of the Armed Forces is not only for financial support and to honor veterans, but also to provide an avenue to acknowledge the sacrifices of security personnel for their tireless efforts in safeguarding the nation.
Our prayer is for Allah to forgive the race of our deceased officers and men, and may God grant them, their families, the fortitude to bear the irreparable losses. And we pray Almighty Allah to continue to protect and empower our armed forces to subdue all the crises that are bedeviling our nation. And inshallah, in the fullness of time, we shall have an enduring peace and prosperity.
The special prayers also coincide with the successes recorded in the Northeast and other parts of the country. In Abuja, Brahman Jibrila, NTA News.
In response to the continued misuse of the Armed Forces Celebration and Remembrance Day, the Defense Headquarters has urged journalists and citizens to adopt Armed Forces Celebration and Remembrance Day in all future coverage. A statement by the Director, Defense Information, Major General Samaila Uba, says January 15th is set aside by the federal government to honor the living personnel of the Armed Forces of Nigeria, while acknowledging the sacrifices of those who paid the supreme price to safeguard the nation's territorial integrity, as well as the lives and properties of citizens. Previously known as Armed Forces Remembrance Day, the name was officially changed to Armed Forces Celebration and Remembrance Day to reflect the dual essence of the occasion in honoring the living while also acknowledging the fallen heroes. The Defense Headquarters appreciates the media's unwavering support in the fight against insecurity and looks forward to even stronger collaboration ahead. The Minister of Works, David Umahi, has sanctioned senior ministry officials over delays and alleged misconduct in the execution of the Maraba-Kefi Expressway project, ordering the immediate removal of a controller of works. Usman Zubairu reports that the Works Minister took the decision during an inspection tour of the ongoing expansion of the 43-kilometer Maraba-Kefi corridor. Here is the report.
The ongoing expansion work on the Abuja-Kefi Expressway started in December last year. Already 41 kilometers of the 43.6 kilometers of the road from Kefi have been completed. While inspecting the ongoing expansion of the Maraba-Kefi corridor, Minister for Works David Umahi expressed dissatisfaction with the pace of work. He attributed the persistent lapses not only to the contractor but also to negligence by officials of the Ministry of Works assigned to supervise the project.
We escalate that disobedience to PAM Secretary, to the Minister, to the head of department. The controller has not done that, and for that, I'm directing the PAM Secretary to remove the controller, effective from today, and pushed him to my office to go and learn how to obey instructions.
He also ordered the immediate removal of hand-modeled curbs along the road, directing that concreting of median road should commence without further delay, alongside the installation of solar-powered street lights across the entire stretch. Reading the Riot Act to ministry staff, Umahi declared 2026 as an action year, warning that indiscipline and negligence would no longer be tolerated. He instructed the company handling the road project to submit a detailed work timetable and a written commitment confirming its readiness to meet the February deadline. The minister urged ministry staff and contractors to discharge their duties responsibly in the interest of Nigerians, adding that sanctions would be imposed on erring officers.
Now, the National Industrial Court, Abuja Division, has restrained all members and agents of the National Association of Resident Doctors from calling, directing, organizing, participating in, and embarking upon any form of industrial action. Justice Emmanuel Njuma Subilim gave the order in an interim injunction filed by the federal government through the Office of the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice. The court temporarily barred members of the association from embarking on any form of strike, work stoppages, go-slows, picketing, or any form of industrial protest or disruption. The association is equally restrained from taking steps preparatory to any form of industrial action from the 12th day of January 2026. The interim order remains in force pending the hearing and dissemination of the motion on notice fixed for January 21st, 2026. The association had earlier threatened to commence strike on Monday, January 12th, 2026. Now with me in the studio is a public health physician, Dr. Agbo Ebuta. Thank you for joining us on the news.
Thank you for having me.
So, what do you think of issues in the 19-point agreements between the National Association of Resident Doctors, the federal government, the Federal Ministry of Health, and of course, social welfare?
Well, these are issues that have predated the current players. These are issues that have been dragging up for several years. Some of them have origins as far back as 2009, when the parity agreement came up, and all health workers were presumed or promoted to a position where they were supposed to earn almost equal take home in terms of salaries and benefits. However, a few years down the line, the National Association of Resident Doctors and the collection of doctors came up with, were able to secure an agreement called relativity, where the move actually was to correct some of these measures. So we've had all kinds of things happening where different subgroups, silos of the medical human resource body tend to get agreements independent of others. So sometimes when maybe the nurses get an agreement and secure some benefits and it comes to implementation, another group, maybe the doctors, would raise up, go up in arms and say, no, you did not take certain things into consideration. So that has created most of the rift we've had. That's the background, that's the foundation of some of the rift we've had. There are other concerns, obviously. So right. what the federal government was able to do this time around was to come up with a strategy that is quite novel. It's called the collective bargaining strategy, where they had every player, doctors, nurses, health workers, pharmacists, everybody on the same table, so that they could come to an agreement of the expectations of everybody and their expectations of what other people should have. But that process is still kind of, is still in evolution. Yes, there was an agreement sometime in November that process could have been concluded by now. Unfortunately, the process is still in evolution, but more importantly is that a lot of the requests from the National Association of Resident Doctors are receiving attention. Some of them may not have matured, but they are receiving attention. Out of the 19 requests, for example, up to, is only about 9 of them that are still key front burner issues.
All right.
But
So
even those are getting attention.
So yeah, so from what you're saying,
yes,
and from the information we have, it seems most of the issues have been addressed or have been addressed,
yes,
or needs, and then there is need for a process to achieve what the resident doctors want. Yes. Now, do you think NARD is hasty in its decision to embark on a strike again, being that the government is looking at all the issues they're placing on the table?
I mean, if you look at the data, by November 29, they had come up with an MOU, and the National Association of Resident Doctors had asked that their 12,000 strong workforce to go back to the hospitals and provide services to 216 million Nigeria, plus or minus. But they gave a period. Of course, it was an agreement, and they said within 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and all of that, they would implement some of the agreements that were reached. Unfortunately, we do understand that when you try to implement agreements, things may come up. There may be, I mean, a few T's and a few T's to cross and I's to dot that may not have been completely concluded, so to speak. For example, if you look at the most important issue, or not the most important issue, the top issue that is responsible for this agitation is the issue of the 5 Lokoja doctors who were basically, whose appointments were terminated, and some of them were reprimanded. All of them have been restored. The fine details is that 2 of these people, what the Ministry of Health Committee has requested is that they resume in other teaching hospitals in order not to come up with frictions of institutions and individuals and a few other things. But you still need to protect union officers. So what has happened now is that National Association of Resident Doctors has said, no, they must resume, and there should be no discussions about that. But again, these are fine details that can be trashed without coming up with the extreme interventions in the
let me just
period.
jump in here. Let me jump in here. Looking at the situation we have on ground today, with the interim order in force pending the hearing and determination of the motion on notice, which is fixed for January 21st, 2026. What do you advise both parties to do now?
I think the NAD should have elasticized the period. So they should have expanded the period and allowed government to try and fine-tune some of these details. I mean, we are all students of history. In the Battle of Borodino in 1812, Napoleon Bonaparte, they tried to invade Russia. But what were the outcomes? Excessive force and all of that. But by the time you negotiate and put things in perspective, all of these issues are receiving attention in the next few days or weeks. Some of them would outcomes that are positive, and where there are challenges with agreement, it will be resolved. Government has put together an increase of 45% in professional allowances as recently as November. Sorry, let me finish up on this. As recently as November, but that caused an increase in funding, a need for funding of 90 billion between December and January. This is being put together. Now, this strike kind of aborts that situation or distracts government from focusing
so
on
what should be the next line of action for NAD with the court ruling by the industrial courts?
I think NAD
stopping the industrial action.
I think with due respect to whatever rulings that are in place, I think NAD should basically have looked at this situation and said, look, let's give government more time. Let us engage more strategically. Let us prevent additional deaths if we down tools, because NAD they are about 10,000, 12,000 strong. They account for 40% of the doctors in Nigeria who are active in public service, and they account for 60% or more of the work that is being done in the public space. So that is going to create issues, so they can get back to work, and some of these things will be resolved.
Yeah,
and
thank you.
Would be
thank you so much, Dr. Ibuta, for bringing perspective to
Always
the
a
whole
pleasure.
issue. We thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, it's time to talk business. Now, as the new tax laws take effect, the Presidential Fiscal Policy and Tax Reforms Committee held a constructive meeting with the Office of the Tax Ombudsman as part of ongoing efforts to support effective implementation of the tax reforms. The Office of the Tax Ombud is an independent and impartial body established under the new tax laws to protect taxpayer rights, resolve complaints quickly and fairly, and build trust in the tax system through mediation and advocacy. Chairman of the Implementation Committee, Taiwo Oyedele, says the visit focused on collaboration with the tax ombud, given the critical role in ensuring that the reforms deliver not just a better tax systems, but a fairer and more responsive tax administration for taxpayers. Moving on, in other news, the European Union states gave a provisional go-ahead on Friday for the bloc to sign its largest ever free trade accord with South American group. Although it came amid a protest in some European countries, it comes more than 25 years since talks began, and after months of trying to gain enough support, and the European Commission also argues that the deal will help offset business lost from U.S. tariffs and lower reliance on China by gaining access to critical minerals. Spain and Germany are key supporters of the agreement, but France, which is the EU's largest agricultural producer, opposes it. Paris argues it will raise imports of cheap food and undercut domestic farmers. A protest led by farmers against the deal was seen today, Friday, and earlier this week in countries including Poland as well as France. The EU sources said while Paris voted against the deal, at least 15 countries representing 65% of the bloc's total population voted in favor. That was enough for the approval. Looking at the markets, talking about Nigerian stock markets as well as other major stocks across Africa, we saw a display of mixed, record-breaking milestone and steady resilience, with the Nigerian 100 trillion giant continuing to bask in the golden era, wrapping up the week bullish with benchmark all-share index increasing by 0.93%, almost 100% basis points, driven by sustained interest in key stocks. Today's data shows 3% decline in volume, 13% improvement in the turnover, but 1% decline in deals. The current market capitalization is 103.8 trillion naira. On the aggregate, 130 listed equities participated in trading, ending with 48 gainers and 28 losers. For the South African market, the South African JSE Top 40, currently the North Star of African investment, rose by 0.90%, while the Nairobi All-Share Index dipped by 0.11%. But with a healthy trading volume amounting to more than 32 million shares changing hands, totaling about 893 million Kenyan shillings. That's it on business for the weekend.
Thank you, Benny, for the business update. Now, the federal government has launched a new rural developments program that integrates housing, agriculture, infrastructure, and guaranteed market access, aimed at enabling rural households to earn sustainable incomes while owning homes and productive land. This was as the agreement signing between the federal government and Niger State government for the pilot phase of the project. Neka Uko reports.
With the signing of the Memorandum of Understanding, the Partnership for the Sustainable Integrated Productive Communities Initiative pilot rollout in Niger State is now official. This marks the beginning of an innovative program where farmers will receive land and decent homes and pay for them gradually using their farm produce instead of cash. For the Minister of State Finance, Dr. Doris Uzoka-Nite, the project goes beyond simple housing provision. It is designed as a complete settlement framework for farmers.
This project promotes job security by creating stable, long-term employment across agriculture, agro-processing, renewable energy, logistics, and community services. The house housing and settlement project will stimulate broad-based economic activity. It will create jobs for engineers, builders, artisans, suppliers, and service providers. It will also support local industries such as cement, steel, agro-processing, and transportation.
So, Honorable Minister, Niger State is bringing forward to you 100,000 hectares of land for this project. So this will address the issue of shelter, issue of security of lives and property, issue of food security, and also sustainable livelihood.
On the housing side, we also want houses that are affordable, but are decent. The fact that they're in those communities doesn't mean that we'll compromise on the quality. The houses have to be decent, they have to have reliable source of energy.
The Sustainable Integrated Productive Communities is a program that integrates housing, agriculture, infrastructure, and guaranteed market access aimed at enabling rural households to earn sustainable incomes while owning homes and productive lands. The program is expected to be replicated in other states of the Federation if the pilot phase proves successful. In Abuja, Nneka Oko, NTA News.
Despite the challenge of both mishaps, the year 2025 marked a defining moment in Nigeria's drive to reposition the marine and blue economy as a critical pillar of economic diversification, growth and global competitiveness. From far-reaching reforms to global reckoning, Chukwunonsongo Abweze in this report takes a look at how the maritime sector fared in 2025 and the prospects for 2026.
The approval of the 10-year national policy on marine and blue economy early in the year by the Federal Executive Council set the tone for the reforms and transformation within the nation's maritime sector in 2025. The 2025 to 2035 policy provides a strategic framework for harnessing ocean and inland water resources sustainably while promoting investment, job creation, environmental protection, as well as wealth generation. Just like in the two previous years, the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, NIMASA, in collaboration with the Nigerian Navy, recorded 0 piracy incidents on the nation's territorial waters in 2025.
The Nigerian maritime sector has seen significant growth and development, particularly enhancing maritime security and promoting international cooperation, and reducing piracy and maritime crimes in our waters, and the Gulf of Guinea serving as a model for regional partners.
The Deep Blue Project, the disbursement of the Cabotage Vessel Financing Fund, Deep Sea Port Projects, Port Modernization Programs, Inland Dry Ports Development Initiative were among the reforms by the Ministry of Marine and Blue Economy that got great attention in 2025.
The establishment of inland dry ports across all 6 geopolitical zones underscores our determination to decentralize trade, bring shipping services close to the hinterland, reduce pressure on the seaports, and promote economic inclusion.
With targeted interventions, improved coordination, technology deployment, and better sectoral planning, local fish production increased from 1.1 metric tons to 1.4 metric tons in 2025. Though stay short of the 3.6 million metric tons required annually, the ministry during the period spearheaded a stakeholders' collaboration to accelerate fish production, close the nation's estimated 2.2 metric ton supply gap through a coordinated policy roadmap that prioritizes food security, job creation, economic diversification that will address the challenge of overdependence on fish importation. On the international level, Nigeria's selection into Category C of the International Maritime Organization (IMO) and the Minister of Marine and Blue Economy's emergence as the chairman of the Conference of Ministers of the Fisheries Committee for the West Central Gulf of Guinea in 2025, with a strong commitment to advance collective action against illegal, unreported and unregulated fishing, a major threat to marine sustainability, also underscored renewed global confidence in Nigeria's maritime leadership.
This election is going to place Nigeria in a strategic position that will be involved in decision making. That is a significant step. And then the most important aspect is Nigeria has also been part of most of the IMO regulations all through the year.
Sadly, however, during the period under review, the sector recorded a series of boat mishaps across the country's inland waterways, resulting in many fatalities. And in a bid to curb the menace, the Committee on Prevention of Boat Mishaps in Nigeria was set up.
The most significant thing that we need to do is to ensure that these boat mishaps that are happening do not reoccur. We need to find a lasting solution.
Enlightenment campaigns on the mandatory use of life jackets and strict adherence to water transportation codes and regulations also witnessed an intensified advocacy by the ministry through the National Inland Waterways Authority, NIWA, in collaboration with state governments.
As the 2026 unfolds, maritime industry experts will be focusing on how far the federal government can go with the ongoing reforms within the nation's marine and blue economy sector, with a key interest on the implementation of the report of the Special Committee on Prevention of Boat Mishaps in Nigeria submitted mid-2025, as well as the level of the country's contributions to global maritime governance as a council member of the International Maritime Organization. NTN.
Thank you, Nunso, for that report. As part of efforts to strengthen animal health care and boost production in Nigeria, the Minister of Livestock Development, Dr. Idi Mukhtar Meha, has inaugurated a state-of-the-art livestock facility in Sokoto State. The center, equipped with advanced diagnostic laboratories, radiology and X-ray units, as well as other innovative veterinary solutions, is a collaborative initiative between the federal government and the Sokoto state government. Bashir Ibrahim Nababa reports.
The Livestock Service Center is a key intervention under the World Bank Assisted Livestock Productivity and Resilience Support (LPRES) project. Performing the foundation stone laying, the Minister of Livestock Development, Dr. Idi Mukhtar Meha, reaffirms the federal government's commitment to unlocking Nigeria's livestock potential for sustainable peace and development.
It will contribute to improve animal health, food security, and environmental sustainability.
Governor Ahmed Aliu stated that the center is designed to address livestock losses, rural poverty, and insecurity linked to unregulated livestock practices. The governor noted that the facility will introduce modern feedlots, support pasture development, and ease pressures on open grazing on farmlands.
We must support our rural populace economically by providing a structured livelihoods and modern system that protects people's assets and minimize conflicts.
National Coordinator LPRES Dr. Sanusi Abubakar assured full support from the National Coordination Office to guarantee the project's successful implementation in the state.
It's a conglomerate of livestock activities that will be linked with market linkage and with all the beneficiaries.
The Commissioner for Livestock Development, Bello Mohamed Wamako, highlighted Sokoto State Government's investment in routine vaccination programs and other measures to reduce farmer-herder conflicts. Similar projects are being executed in 20 participating states nationwide, expected to enhance food security, improve animal health, and strengthen the nation's economy. From Sokoto, Bashir Ibrahim Nababa, NTA News.
The national president of the Mieta Allah Cattle Breeders Association of Nigeria, MACBAN, has called on Fulani pastoralists across the country to uphold the rule of law and prioritize the education of their children to safeguard their future and national development. Muhammad Musa Askira reports that the MACBAN president, hosted by Governor Umar Namadi, was speaking in Jigawa during a sensitization visit.
The Macban national president said Nigeria's pastoralist families, estimated at over 40 million people, have suffered disproportionately from crimes often attributed to them more than any other ethnic group in the country. He urged media organizations to exercise professionalism and national responsibility by avoiding ethnic or racial profiling against Fulani people, stressing that like every other group, there are law-abiding citizens as well as criminal elements which should not be used to label an entire race. He disclosed that association is working closely with security agencies to identify and expose criminals who disguise themselves in Fulani cultural attire to perpetrate crimes and tarnish the image of genuine pastoralists, describing the establishments of the Federal Ministry of Livestock Development as a landmark achievement that has brought a renewed hope to Fulani communities nationwide.
We have the largest livestock population in the sub-Saharan region. But if you go to these countries that have far less livestock population than Nigeria, you realize that the GDP, their GDP contribution to the economics of those countries ranges from 35 to up to about 50%.
The cattle breeding industry is a significant contributor to our state economy, and it provides livelihoods for southern of our citizens. As government, we are committed to supporting the growth and development of the industry.
Governor Umar Namadi, represented, assured the Macban leadership of the state commitments to investing in ranching and other modern livestock practices, noting that such initiatives will reduce conflicts, enhance productivity, and maximize the economic benefits of pastoralist presence in the state. In Dutse, Muhammad Musa Askira, NTA News.
The news continues in Lagos with Jennifer Igwe. Hello, Jenny.
Thank you, Lami. Now, POS regulation in Nigeria reflects a strategic effort to formalize and strengthen the rapidly expanding agent banking sector. These services play increasingly vital roles in everyday financial transactions, and experts say it needs to be regulated to enhance oversight, improve security, and promote accountability. Its implementation is expected to influence citizens' access to financial services while contributing to greater stability and transparency in the Nigerian economy. Adejoke Odeka has more on this.
With new or advanced technologies, the way businesses operate and deliver services has continued to evolve significantly across the country. One notable development is the adoption of point-of-sale POS systems, which transformed traditional methods of handling sales and financial transactions and helped ease the burden on citizens during periods of cash scarcity. However, citizens note that despite its benefit, the technology also comes with certain disadvantages.
A lot of their charges are becoming very, very ridiculous. So if government is properly regulating them, it means that you, just like the way you have bank charges for maybe bank-to-bank transfers, interbank transfers and all of that, they should have like a peg on how much they can charge.
POS is being used in Nigeria to sell our currency. Let there be more opportunity of using the ATM.
The recent CBN regulations are set to reform POS operations, including enforcing geotagging and limiting agents to one principal, among other measures. The Corporate Affairs Commission also mandated all POS operators to register with the Commission by 1st January 2026 to sanitize and protect citizens' investment.
The KYC on the POS needs to be strong so that we know the location of each of the POS operator.
Citizens will be able to develop more confidence in the services being provided by these people. That is the key thing that regulation brings.
By enhancing oversight and formalizing agent banking, the recent CBN regulations, respondents say, will no doubt strengthen POS operations in Nigeria and boost transparency, create a more efficient and trustworthy digital payment ecosystem across the country. In Lagos, Adejoke Odeka, NTA News.
And to disaster management, as the Lagos State government and key stakeholders finalize plans on the best way to mitigate the impact of the planned demolition of buildings affected by the Martin Street fire disaster, business owners are urging the government to expedite action for the sake of economic activities in the area. Joel Pupola reports that security has been beefed up to guarantee public safety.
This is a difficult period for traders at Balogun Market. Many of them have not been able to access a major part of the commercial district with only a few streets accessible. Apart from Nnamdi Azikiwe and Breadfruit streets, other major streets have been blocked.
To pave way for easy demolition of the distressed structures affected by the inferno, the state government has blocked access routes into major parts of Balogun Market, further adding to the growing uncertainty and frustration of the traders. But the government says this move is to ensure public safety.
The experience has been a colossal loss for most of the traders, with petty traders worst hit. Many business owners returning from holidays are faced with uncertainty due to the economic lockdown caused by the fire incident.
The only place that is working now is just Nnamdi Azikiwe, which is Idumota area. So, but major people in Idumota also have shops in Balogun. So if Balogun is not operating, they will be operating at a skeletal basis.
Even if you see where you can showcase your goods, you cannot allow to enter inside your plaza. So it's very difficult.
The National Emergency Management Agency, Lagos State Emergency Management Agency, the State Building Control Agency and other emergency responders have put modalities in place to ensure seamless operation when the demolition begins. In Lagos, Joel Bukbola, NTA News.
Relief has come for 50 students from Libata, Kabirba and Konga communities in Ngaski local government area of Kebbi State who are facing uncertainty over their academic future. The students have received scholarship awards from 3 Crowns mines, ensuring the continuation of their education despite the company's 6 months absence from its operational site. Correspondent Jafar Yusuf Ilo reports.
The scholarship initiative by 3 Crowns Mines Limited has brought renewed relief to students and parents in Libata, Kabirba and Konga communities of Ngaski local government area. The representatives of the students and parents described the award as a timely intervention, thanking the company for its sustained support for education and commitment to corporate social responsibility.
But Alhamdulillah, the company has mercy on their mind. They have paid their money. And they are not working in our community, but they pay the money.
We have never benefited with this gesture by a company, especially these 3 Crowns, and we are very, very much grateful with the gesture.
The assistant operation manager of the company, Abdul Hafiz Mohammed, alongside other community stakeholders, urged the beneficiaries to remain focused on their studies.
The students that were engaged into various institutions of learning will continue to actualize their dream.
Community leaders appeal to the relevant authorities to resolve lingering issues and allow 3 Crowns Mines Limited to resume operations.
So we are calling on the government to please intervene. Let them come to site. Let them continue with their exploration.
Support from the 3 Crown Limited. And you know, all these initiatives, I believe, is in line with the cooperation, support, and dedication to His Excellency, Comrade Dr. Nasir Idris Parangondu.
Residents express hope that the company's return will lead to more development projects and employment opportunities. In Libata, Ngaski local government area of Kebbi State, Jafar Isobelo, NTA.
Institutional respect and constant dialogue are among major pillars sustaining democratic governance in Nigeria, and this must be guarded jealously. The Deputy President of the Senate, Senator Barrow Jibrin, stated this as the 15th convocation ceremony of Al-Hikmah University, Ilorin, where he delivered a lecture titled Managing Executive Legislature Relationship Towards Democratic Consolidation in Nigeria's Fourth Republic. The reports.
Nigeria has no doubt made appreciable progress in democratic governance, but early years of the Fourth Republic, according to Senator Barrow, were marked by frequent conflict between the executive and the legislature, largely due to prolonged military rule experience. President Tinubu-led administration and the 10th National Assembly understand the importance of synergy, hence the entrenchment of democratic governance.
Why you will find us moving along with the president, not because we are wrong, no, because of the continued dialogue. The president will engage us.
Vice Chancellor of the Al-Hikmah University, its Chancellor, Founder and Chairman Board of Trustees of the University, Alhaji Abdurrahim Oladimeji OFR, in their separate remarks, challenged the graduates to be worthy ambassadors of the school.
We have been trained to be agents of positive change, leaders in the respective fields, incubators and innovators of new ideas, and in spite of your scholarship, humble servants of humanity.
They have been given a lot of advice and understand religious ethics. This will surely guide them.
A total of 2,833 graduates were awarded various degrees.
God made it possible for me. I felt it was impossible, but He did make it possible.
The convocation ceremony also featured the conferment of honorary doctoral degree of business administration on Malam Nasiru Ali Surundi and Tajuddin Ibrahim Eleku, as well as inauguration of the newly constructed postgraduate hostel and Abdurrahim Oladimeji College of Health Sciences complex. Mutiatu Lushola, NTA News.
With Ayo Deji.
Well, thanks so much, Lami. We'll begin here in Nigeria, where Sports Federation presidents in the country are optimistic on their expectations and programs for the year 2026. After a parley with Director General of the National Sports Commission, Bukola Olokbade, where they outlined their plans and priorities. The sports administrators identified funding as a major challenge in their quest to success. They deliberated with emphasis on funding, development and capacity building as they highlight 2026 as a turning point for all-round recalibration of sports development in the country.
Funding is a major problem in every federation, and we are looking at the best possible way. The DG is a strategist. He has a lot of ideas on how we can raise funds, and so this is where we will work together. We'll put heads together and see how we can make the sport move from where it is to a greater height.
We have agreed that we are decentralizing playing of the game of handball back to the local areas, and as such, our zonal reps takes full responsibility of the game, and that was collaborated by the DG statement not quite some minutes ago. So I think we are already good to go, and we are prepared for it.
All right, let's go to the world of football, particularly the Africa Cup of Nations, where Super Eagles head coach Eric Schell has restated his commitment to his tactical approach, insisting he will remain true to his plans as the team prepare for the high-profile encounter against the Desert Foxes of Algeria on Saturday. The Franco-Ivorian Malian noted that his focus is on performance and execution rather than any thoughts of revenge after the heartbreak of 2019 AFCON. Schell maintains that the Super Eagles are fully focused on securing victory in the Africa Cup of Nations quarter-final against the Algerian Desert Foxes. Now, let's go over now and tell you what has really happened today in the world of the Africa Cup of Nations, because Senegal are through to the semi-final after a 1-0 victory over the Eagles of Mali. And in the other quarterfinal that is ongoing now, the host country, Morocco, are 2 goals up against the indomitable Lions of Cameroon, which is a sure banker that they will qualify into the semi-final. Talking about the Atlas Lions of Morocco. Surely, that's your sports. It's back to Lami.
Thank you so much, Ayo, for the update. And that's it on the news for tonight. We thank you for being a part of it. Have a